Why has the prevalence of autism increased over the past few decades from 1 in 10,000 children to 1 in 24 or 36 according to some other sources? Well, it's the unnatural environment that society puts us in. We're not eating whole food from nature. We're exposed to so many toxic chemicals. We're having credit cards worth of plastic ingested into our system every single year. And we're just not living naturally. We're not living well. And because of that, we're suffering chronic disease at alarming rates and things like autoimmune diseases, right, that we talk about all the time. Multiple sclerosis, we talk about psoriasis, we talk about all these other things, but autism as well. And so what is going on here? What can we blame? What should we definitely not do? What should we do to reduce our children's risk for autism, right? Well, when it comes to prenatal exposure to certain harmful chemicals and compounds, we have many things across the board. We're just going to mention a few here. This isn't all the things out there, but there's some big ones that you should look at that increase inflammation, chronic inflammation, not only in the central nervous system, but throughout the body. But that does include the brain, and we're really talking about nervous system function, the brain here, when it comes to autism, right? Imbalance of brain chemicals, neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin and GABA and glutamate. We're talking about a lot of negativity in terms of physiological regulation of the general systems of the body, right? And defective gene regulation and a higher risk for mutations, and of course, impaired brain development. So we have things like dyes, right? You definitely want to stay away from dyes. And you know what? If you don't want to remember all the specific things, again, just get local produce, get local food, cook everything you eat. Try not to store things in plastic that's full of BPA and phthalates and stuff like that. But, have filtered water, have a clean living space. That's really the gist of it if you don't feel like watching the rest of the video. But we have dyes like Red 40. We definitely want to avoid that increased inflammation, affect gene regulation negatively. As we've said, all these things do that. They can impair brain development, right? And even after a child is autistic, they can make their outcome worse, their prognosis worse for the rest of their life if they have more of these things, like gluten or dairy, which are pro-inflammatory, right? Generally should be avoided regardless if you're lactose intolerant or if you have celiac disease, right? So we have that kind of stuff that is just generally pro-inflammatory. We have the dyes. We have sugar, added sugar. Sugar causes hyperactivity in the brain. And if you know autism, you know these kids have a brain that is just racing all over the place. And so we definitely like to avoid added sugar in processed foods in a kid who is autistic, but also prenatally, right? Also when you're pregnant, throughout gestation, you want to focus more on healthy fats and protein and whole food that's got a robust nutrition profile. We'll talk about the micronutrients that you want to really focus in on here in a second. But aside from things like dyes and sugar, we have things like organophosphates, pesticides, right? So go organic. We have heavy metals like lead, mercury, arsenic, cadmium, which our body has a tough time removing unless you have some chelators like beta-alanine, which combines with histidine to form carnosine, right? We have that in superU, chelator, bind heavy metals, expel them, but don't let them in there in the first place, right? And when it comes to plastics, BPA and phthalates, well, we can avoid a lot of the metals and the plastics if we have filtered drinking water and you don't drink it out of a plastic bottle that can contain things of that nature, or make sure it's BPA free or phthalate free, right? Spelled with a pH in front. So aside from those, you want to keep a clean living space. Keep a clean, ventilated living space. Use non-toxic cleaning compounds and chemicals, right, around your airspace. Maybe that's not the first thing that we would think of when we think of something that could increase our child's risk for having autism. So what do you want to have in terms of vital nutrients that are necessary for proper brain development during pregnancy? Well, definitely B9, B12, iron, zinc, omega-3s, and vitamin D, right? And I'm sure you take a prenatal that has most all those in it, and maybe the more difficult thing would be avoiding, the toxic chemicals and compounds that society presents to us in all these processed foods and all this unnatural crap that's around us, right? But know that if you're eating whole food from nature, again, I can't emphasize that enough. We're just giving you another reason to be healthy here, you know. You don't have to worry so much about getting all those nutrients. If you're getting sunlight, you're getting vitamin D. If you're eating fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, tuna, herring, sardines, anchovies, trout, you're getting those omega-3s, right? If you're making sure it's wild caught as it should be, it has a lot more omega-3s and less omega-6s. Omega-6s are higher in the farm-raised forms of those fish, and they're pro-inflammatory, right? So we want to really reduce inflammation. You know, if you're eating this kind of whole food and you're cooking everything, you're going to have a lot of added sugar? Well, of course not, right? And added sugar is bad not just for hyperactivity, for a myriad of reasons, right? But also because it can foster gut dysbiosis, and leaky gut is associated with autism as well, right? And so those toxins get into the bloodstream and they can cross the blood-brain barrier. You know, we have disruptions in the blood-brain barrier from excess sugar and an imbalance in our gut bacteria. Remember, the gut-brain axis is something that, you know, communicates constantly throughout our lives, and they influence one another very intimately. So we want to take care of our gut if we want to take care of our brain. So those are some simple tips, you know, and it could reduce your child's risk for getting autism if you follow them. Who do we got? Let's say what's up to the people. Goldilocks, what's up, girl? Yeah, what's up, Jamie? How you doing? All right. That's it. Karina, what's up? How you been? Hope you're doing well. Spherical, thanks for coming on, NFL. Sabia, Ashley, what's up, baby? A boy nice and Jage, as for now. That's what we got for you, folks. We'll see you tomorrow, baby. Not sure where, not sure when, but we'll see you then. Have an amazing rest of your night. Thank you very much. Yeah, me, Jamie, I got it. Yes, awesome, man. Good to see you, too. And happy When Wellness. We'll see you later.